What if meeting the right person isn't about finding someone who makes your heart race, but someone who makes your life make sense? Sometimes, the most meaningful relationships don't arrive with fireworks. They arrive quietly through peace, growth, trust, and a strange feeling that you can finally be yourself. The right person doesn't complete you. They challenge you to become more fully who you were meant to be. And when you recognize these 4 signs, you may realize that what feels like coincidence could actually be a powerful turning point in your life. One of the clearest signs that you may have found the right person is not constant excitement, butterflies, or dramatic chemistry. It is peace. Real connection does not leave you spending every night wondering where you stand, analyzing every message, or trying to decode every change in someone's behavior. The right person may not eliminate every uncertainty in life, but they create an environment where honesty is possible and where you do not have to constantly fight for reassurance. Think about how different peace feels from confusion. Confusion makes you anxious. Peace gives you room to breathe. Confusion makes you question your worth. Peace reminds you that you are valued. Confusion keeps your attention focused on whether someone will stay. Peace allows you to focus on building something meaningful together. That difference matters because a relationship should not require you to abandon your emotional stability just to keep another person's attention. This does not mean the right relationship will always be easy. Every meaningful relationship will have disagreements, misunderstandings, difficult conversations, and moments of uncertainty. 2 people can love each other deeply and still have different opinions, habits, fears, and expectations. Peace does not mean the absence of problems. Peace means knowing that problems can be faced without turning the relationship into a battlefield. The right person does not make you feel as though love is something you have to earn every single day. You do not have to constantly prove that you are attractive enough, successful enough, interesting enough, or useful enough to deserve their affection. Instead, there is a foundation of mutual respect. You know that even when you disagree, your dignity remains intact. You know that difficult conversations can happen without destroying the entire relationship. This kind of connection also changes the way you experience yourself. When you are constantly surrounded by uncertainty, your energy becomes consumed by questions. Why did they become distant? Why haven't they replied? Did I say something wrong? Are they losing interest? What can I do to make them care more? When your mind is trapped in these questions, you stop living your own life. Your attention moves away from your purpose and toward managing another person's emotions. But healthy love gives you freedom to remain present in your own life. You can pursue your goals, spend time with people you care about, develop your talents, and continue becoming the person you want to become. You are not constantly monitoring the relationship because trust creates breathing room. There is something deeply powerful about being with someone who communicates instead of manipulating, explains instead of disappearing, and listens instead of immediately becoming defensive. You don't have to agree on everything. What matters is the willingness to understand each other. When both people can say, "This hurt me," without fear of punishment, the relationship becomes a place where healing and growth can happen. And this is where we need to rethink what love really means. Many people have been taught to confuse intensity with connection. They believe that the stronger the emotional highs and lows, the deeper the love must be. But intensity is not always intimacy. Sometimes intensity is simply uncertainty. Sometimes what feels like irresistible chemistry is actually the nervous system reacting to unpredictability. Peace may feel less dramatic, especially if you have become accustomed to emotional chaos. At first, stability can even seem unfamiliar. You may wonder whether something is missing because there are no constant emotional storms. But sometimes nothing is missing. The drama is simply gone. The right person does not have to create chaos to make you feel alive. Their presence can make you feel grounded enough to build. And that is the real sign. You are not merely surviving the relationship. You are becoming more capable of living your life. When someone brings peace into your world, pay attention. Not because every peaceful relationship is automatically destined to last forever, and not because every difficult relationship is automatically wrong, but because emotional safety gives love a foundation. It allows 2 people to stop performing and start connecting. The right person will not promise you a life without challenges. They will offer something far more valuable: the confidence that challenges do not have to be faced alone. And when love gives you that kind of peace, you begin to understand that the deepest relationships are not necessarily the ones that make the most noise. Sometimes the most meaningful love is the one that quietly tells your heart, you can finally breathe here. One of the most beautiful signs that you have found the right person is that you do not feel pressured to become someone else in order to be loved. You can be yourself. You can speak honestly. You can admit that you are afraid, uncertain, tired, imperfect, or still figuring things out. And instead of feeling like you have to hide those parts of yourself, you discover that authenticity becomes easier in their presence. Many people enter relationships believing they must present the best possible version of themselves at all times. They hide their insecurities, suppress their opinions, change their interests, and carefully choose their words because they are afraid that showing their true selves might cause the other person to leave. But a relationship built on performance eventually becomes exhausting. You cannot spend your entire life acting like someone you are not and still experience genuine intimacy. The right person does not simply fall in love with your image. They become interested in the person behind the image. They want to understand your thoughts, your values, your dreams, your fears, and even the experiences that shaped you. They do not expect perfection. They recognize that being human means having contradictions, weaknesses, and unfinished parts. This does not mean a healthy relationship encourages you to remain exactly as you are forever. In fact, the opposite can be true. The right person can inspire enormous personal growth. But there is a crucial difference between being inspired to grow and being pressured to change, because you are considered inadequate. Someone who genuinely cares about you might challenge you. They might encourage you to communicate better, become more responsible, pursue your goals, or confront habits that are holding you back. But their message is not, become someone else so I can love you. Their message is, I see your potential and I believe you are capable of becoming more. That distinction is incredibly powerful. Imagine being with someone who makes you feel safe enough to say what you actually think. You do not need to rehearse every sentence. You do not need to agree with everything they say just to avoid conflict. You can express a different opinion without believing that disagreement automatically means rejection. You can tell them when something hurts you without fearing that honesty will destroy the relationship. That is emotional freedom. When you experience that freedom, something interesting begins to happen. You start discovering parts of yourself that you had forgotten. Maybe you become more confident. Maybe you begin pursuing an old dream. Maybe you finally speak up about something you have always been afraid to say. Maybe you stop apologizing for having needs and boundaries. The right relationship can become a mirror. Not one that tells you everything you want to hear, but one that helps you see yourself more clearly. This is why the deepest relationships are often about identity as much as romance. The question is not simply, do I love this person? It is also, who am I becoming because of the way we relate to each other? If the relationship consistently makes you smaller, quieter, more fearful, or disconnected from your values, that deserves serious reflection. But if being with someone encourages you to become more courageous, more honest, more compassionate, and more aligned with your purpose, that is something worth recognizing. The right person will not complete you because you were never incomplete. They will not become the missing piece of your identity. Instead, they can become a partner who walks beside you while you continue discovering who you are. And this is where meaningful love becomes different from dependency. Dependency says, I cannot be whole without you. Healthy love says, I am responsible for who I am, and I choose to share my life with you. There is tremendous strength in that choice. You can love someone deeply without losing yourself. You can compromise without abandoning your values. You can support another person's dreams without forgetting your own. You can build a life together while still maintaining a sense of individuality. When someone allows you to be fully human while encouraging you to become your best self, pay attention. That kind of connection is rare because it combines acceptance with growth. The right person does not ask you to wear a mask. They create enough trust for you to take it off. And when you can finally stand in front of another person without pretending, you discover something extraordinary. Perhaps the greatest gift of love is not becoming someone new for another person, but becoming more completely yourself. A meaningful relationship should not simply make you comfortable. It should help you grow. One of the strongest signs that you have found the right person is that their presence challenges you to become a better version of yourself without making you feel like you are not good enough. They see possibilities in you that you may not yet see in yourself, and instead of controlling your direction, they encourage you to move toward the person you genuinely want to become. There is a difference between someone who makes you dependent on them and someone who inspires you to become stronger on your own. Dependency says, I need you in order to be okay. Growth says, because of the way we support each other, I'm becoming more capable, courageous, and purposeful. The right relationship does not take away your independence. It gives you a stronger foundation from which to pursue your life. Think about the people who have influenced you most deeply. Often, they are not the ones who simply told you everything was fine. They are the ones who believed enough in you to challenge you. They asked better questions. They encouraged you to stop making excuses. They reminded you of your potential when you were tempted to settle. They did not shame you for your weaknesses. They helped you recognize that your weaknesses did not have to define your future. The right person can play that role in your life. Maybe you have always wanted to start a business, but were afraid of failure. Maybe you have dreamed about changing careers, but kept telling yourself it was too late. Maybe you have avoided difficult conversations because you were afraid of rejection. A healthy partner does not necessarily solve these problems for you. Instead, they might look at you and say, I believe you can do this. What is stopping you? That simple encouragement can change the way you see yourself. Growth also means being willing to confront uncomfortable truths. A good partner will not always tell you what you want to hear. Sometimes they will point out a behavior that is hurting you or someone else. They may challenge your assumptions. They may encourage you to take responsibility for your actions instead of blaming circumstances or other people. But there is a difference between constructive challenge and criticism designed to control you. Healthy growth comes with respect. The other person is not trying to dominate you or reshape your personality according to their preferences. They are supporting your development while respecting your autonomy. They want you to grow because they care about your well-being, not because they want to create a version of you that is easier for them to control. This kind of relationship creates a powerful cycle. You encourage them, they encourage you. You celebrate each other's progress. You support each other's goals. And when one person struggles, the other does not immediately judge them. Instead, they remind them that setbacks are part of the journey. Imagine being with someone who genuinely wants you to succeed, even when your success requires courage, discipline, and change. They are not threatened by your ambitions. They do not need you to remain small so they can feel secure. Your growth does not diminish their value. Instead, they become proud when they see you becoming stronger. And you offer the same gift to them. This is what partnership can mean at its highest level. Two people are not competing to see who needs whom more. They are building an environment where both can flourish. The relationship becomes a place where dreams are discussed, mistakes are examined, lessons are learned, and new possibilities are explored. You begin asking not only, how can we be happy, but also, how can we become better human beings? That question changes everything, because happiness is temporary. There will be difficult seasons. There will be disappointments, financial pressures, misunderstandings, failures, and moments when motivation disappears. But a relationship built around growth can survive those seasons because both people understand that life is not about avoiding every challenge. It is about learning how to face challenges together. The right person does not simply make your present life feel good. They help you think more deeply about your future. They encourage you to develop your talents, strengthen your character, and live according to values that matter to you. And perhaps the greatest sign is this. You do not feel afraid of becoming better because you know your growth will not cost you their love. You are allowed to evolve. You are allowed to change your mind, learn new things, pursue new dreams, overcome old fears, and become wiser than you were yesterday. The right person understands that love is not about freezing someone in a particular version of themselves. It is about walking beside them as they continue becoming. When two people inspire each other to grow, while still accepting each other as human beings, the relationship becomes more than romance. It becomes a partnership in becoming. And that may be one of the most powerful forms of love. Not someone who carries you through life, but someone who reminds you that you are capable of walking farther than you ever believed. Attraction can bring two people together, but shared values are what give a relationship the foundation to endure. You can feel incredible chemistry with someone, laugh together for hours, and experience an undeniable emotional connection. But if your deepest beliefs about life are completely incompatible, the relationship can eventually become a constant struggle. Finding the right person is not only about asking, how strongly do I feel about them? It is also about asking, can we build a life that makes sense for both of us? Values are the principles that quietly guide your decisions. They influence how you define loyalty, honesty, commitment, family, responsibility, money, ambition, freedom, and personal growth. Two people do not need identical personalities or identical interests. In fact, differences can make a relationship interesting. But when your fundamental values are aligned, those differences become easier to navigate. Imagine two people who genuinely love each other, but have completely different ideas about commitment. One believes that a relationship should involve long-term dedication and shared responsibility, while the other sees relationships as something that should remain casual and flexible. Neither person is necessarily wrong, but their definitions of partnership may be incompatible. Love alone cannot always solve a fundamental difference in expectations. This is why attraction should never be the only measure of compatibility. Ask yourself what happens when the excitement fades. What remains when the first few months of romance become ordinary life? What happens when bills need to be paid? Difficult decisions need to be made. Careers become demanding, or family responsibilities appear. These are the moments when values become visible. A person may say they value honesty, but what happens when telling the truth becomes uncomfortable? Someone may say they value loyalty, but how do they behave when they are angry? Someone may say family is important, but do their actions reflect that belief? Values are not simply the things we say. They are the principles we repeatedly demonstrate through our choices. The right person does not have to agree with you about every detail. You may enjoy different hobbies, have different personalities, or approach problems differently. What matters is whether your core principles can coexist. For example, perhaps one person is highly ambitious while the other values a slower, simpler lifestyle. That difference does not automatically make the relationship impossible. They can still build something meaningful if they respect each other's priorities and communicate openly about what they need. But if one person believes success requires sacrificing everything while the other believes relationships should always come first, that difference may require deeper conversations. The question becomes whether both people can create a shared vision without forcing one another to abandon what matters most. Shared values create a common language. When life becomes difficult, you can return to the principles you both believe in. You can ask, what kind of people do we want to be during this situation? Instead of making every disagreement about winning or losing, you can make it about finding a solution that reflects the values you share. This is especially important when thinking about long-term relationships. Attraction can change over time. Circumstances change, people age, careers evolve, responsibilities increase. But values can provide stability through those transitions. A powerful relationship is not built on the promise that everything will always feel exciting. It is built on the understanding that both people are moving toward a future they genuinely want. That future might include family, career goals, financial stability, travel, service, creativity, personal freedom, or spiritual development. The specific vision will be different for every couple. What matters is that both people can speak honestly about what they want and listen carefully to what the other person wants. This is where purpose becomes important. When you know what you stand for, you become better equipped to recognize whether someone is compatible with you. Instead of asking only, do they like me? You begin asking deeper questions. Do we respect the same principles? Do we treat people similarly? Can we disagree without disrespect? Do we have compatible expectations about commitment? Do we want our lives to move in a direction that allows us to grow together? These questions may not feel as romantic as talking about chemistry, but they can protect you from building a future on temporary excitement. The right person is not necessarily someone who looks exactly like you or thinks exactly like you. They are someone whose core values can stand beside yours without requiring either person to betray themselves. Because love becomes strongest when attraction and purpose move in the same direction. When two people share fundamental values, they can face differences without constantly questioning the relationship itself. They can disagree about the details while remaining united about what matters most. And that is the deeper lesson. Do not only look for someone who makes your heart beat faster. Look for someone whose principles make you trust the direction your life is taking. Chemistry may open the door, but shared values help two people decide whether they can walk through it together. The true strength of a relationship is rarely revealed when everything is easy. When life is comfortable, almost anyone can appear patient, loving, and supportive. The deeper question is, what happens when pressure arrives? What happens when there is a disagreement, disappointment, financial stress, family conflict, exhaustion, or a painful misunderstanding? Those moments reveal whether two people simply enjoy each other or whether they know how to build something together. Finding the right person does not mean finding someone who will never disagree with you. That person does not exist. Two individuals can love each other deeply and still see situations differently. They may have different communication styles, different expectations, or different ways of responding to stress. The goal is not to eliminate conflict. The goal is to learn how to move through conflict without destroying trust. There is a major difference between disagreement and disrespect. A healthy relationship can survive disagreement. It becomes much harder to survive contempt, humiliation, manipulation, threats, or a refusal to communicate. The right person may become frustrated, but they do not intentionally make you feel worthless. They may need space, but they do not use silence as a weapon. They may disagree strongly, but they remain willing to listen. This is where emotional maturity becomes more important than romantic chemistry. When something goes wrong, ask yourself, can we talk about it? Can we admit when we are wrong? Can we apologize without turning the apology into another argument? Can we listen without immediately preparing a defense? Can we find a solution instead of simply trying to prove who is right? These questions reveal the quality of a relationship far more clearly than romantic gestures ever could. A powerful partnership is built through repair. Every relationship experiences moments when one person hurts the other, sometimes intentionally and sometimes accidentally. What matters is what happens afterward. Do both people acknowledge the damage? Do they take responsibility? Do they make meaningful changes? Do they learn from the experience? An apology is valuable, but an apology followed by changed behavior is even more powerful. Imagine two people having an argument. One becomes defensive and says, "This is all your fault." The other becomes silent and withdraws. Nothing is resolved. The same problem returns a few weeks later, and the cycle begins again. Now imagine a different response. One person says, "I realized the way I spoke to you was hurtful. I was frustrated, but that doesn't excuse how I handled it." The other responds, "I understand. I also realize I stopped listening because I felt attacked." Suddenly, the conflict becomes an opportunity for understanding. That is growth. The right person is not someone who always knows what to say. They are someone willing to learn how to communicate with you. They become curious about your experience instead of automatically dismissing it. This also means learning how to disagree without turning every disagreement into a threat to the relationship. Mature love can say, "I disagree with you, but I still respect you." It can say, "I'm upset right now, but I don't want to hurt you." It can say, "We need some time to calm down, but I am committed to coming back and talking about this." Those statements create emotional safety. And emotional safety is especially important during difficult seasons. Life will eventually test every relationship. There may be moments when one person loses confidence, experiences failure, changes direction, or struggles under pressure. During those moments, partnership means remembering that the problem is the problem, not automatically the other person. Instead of asking, "How do I win this argument?" the question becomes, "How do we solve this together?" That small change in perspective can transform a relationship. It shifts the couple from opponents into teammates. Being teammates does not mean agreeing all the time. It means remembering that the person sitting across from you is not your enemy. You are both trying to protect something you value. Of course, healthy conflict has boundaries. Love should never be used as an excuse for abuse, intimidation, coercion, or repeated disrespect. Difficult conversations are normal. Feeling unsafe is not. A healthy relationship requires mutual responsibility and respect. The right person will not promise you a life without conflict. They will give you something more realistic and more valuable. a willingness to face conflict with you. They will not run from every uncomfortable conversation. They will not demand perfection from you while refusing to examine themselves. They will understand that relationships are built through thousands of small moments of communication, patience, accountability, forgiveness, and repair. So when you are trying to recognize whether someone belongs in your future, do not only watch how they treat you when they are happy. Watch how they treat you when they are disappointed. Watch how they respond when you disagree. Watch whether they can take responsibility. Watch whether they can listen, because love is not truly measured by how beautifully two people celebrate together. It is also measured by how respectfully they navigate the moments when life becomes difficult. The right person will not make every storm disappear. They will stand beside you while you learn how to weather it together. Perhaps the deepest sign that you have found the right person is that the relationship becomes about more than simply how you feel about each other. It begins to create a sense of purpose. You stop asking only, does this person make me happy? And begin asking, who are we becoming together? That question takes love beyond attraction and turns it into something that can influence the way both people live, grow, and contribute. Romance can be beautiful, but romance alone cannot carry every season of life. There will be ordinary mornings, stressful responsibilities, difficult decisions, unexpected setbacks, and moments when neither person feels particularly romantic. What keeps a meaningful relationship alive during those seasons is often a shared sense of direction. Purpose gives a relationship somewhere to go. Maybe you both want to build a loving family. Maybe you want to create a business, serve your community, support people who are struggling, travel, and learn together, or simply build a home where people feel safe and respected. The specific purpose does not have to look extraordinary from the outside. What matters is that it means something deeply to both of you. When two people share a meaningful direction, their relationship becomes more than a private source of happiness. It can become a partnership that produces something valuable. Think about the difference between two people who simply consume life together and two people who intentionally build life together. One relationship may revolve entirely around entertainment, attention, and temporary pleasure. The other may include those things, but it also includes conversations about goals, values, family, contribution, personal development, and the kind of legacy they want to leave behind. That does not mean every relationship needs a grand mission statement. It means both people understand that their lives matter beyond the relationship itself. The right person should not become your entire world. They should become someone with whom you can build a meaningful part of your world. This distinction is important because unhealthy dependence can make a relationship feel intense while quietly limiting both people. If your entire identity becomes attached to another person, you may stop pursuing your own interests, friendships, ambitions, and responsibilities. Healthy love creates connection without destroying individuality. Two people can have separate dreams and still support a shared purpose. One might pursue a demanding career while the other develops a creative passion. One may be more focused on family while the other is building a business. The relationship becomes a place where both people can grow while remaining connected by shared principles. Purpose also changes the way you handle sacrifice. Every meaningful relationship requires compromise. Sometimes you give more because the other person is struggling. Sometimes they give more because you are struggling. But when both people understand why they are building the relationship, sacrifice does not necessarily feel like loss. It can feel like an investment in something bigger than immediate comfort. That is what purpose does. It helps you see beyond the moment. You may choose patience because you understand the person you love is going through a difficult season. You may choose to communicate instead of walking away because you care about the future you are building together. You may encourage their dream even when it requires adjustments in your own routine because you understand that their fulfillment matters to you, and they do the same for you. This creates a relationship where love becomes active rather than passive. You are not simply saying, "I love you." You are demonstrating it through the way you listen, support, encourage, forgive, challenge, and show up. You become intentional about creating a life that reflects what you both believe. There is also something powerful about being with someone who makes you think beyond yourself. Their presence may inspire you to become more generous, more responsible, more courageous, or more committed to serving others. You begin realizing that a meaningful life is not measured only by what you receive, but also by what you contribute. That is where love can become transformational. The right person does not necessarily arrive to save you or complete some missing part of your identity. They may arrive and challenge you to take greater responsibility for your life. They may ask questions that force you to think differently. They may encourage you to stop wasting your potential. And you can offer the same to them. This creates a relationship where both people become stronger. Not because they depend on each other for everything, but because they intentionally support one another's growth. Ultimately, the deepest sign of a meaningful connection may not be how intensely you feel when you are together. It may be what happens to your life because of the relationship. Are you becoming more honest, more courageous, more compassionate, more purposeful? Are you building something that reflects the values you claim to believe in? If the answer is yes, then you may have discovered something rare. The right person is not necessarily the person who makes every day perfect. It is the person with whom you can create a life that has meaning. Someone who can celebrate your victories, stand beside you during difficult seasons, challenge you when you are settling, and remind you that your relationship can be part of something bigger than yourselves, because perhaps the greatest form of love is not simply finding someone who makes you feel complete. It is finding someone with whom you can become more fully alive, more deeply purposeful, and more willing to leave the world a little better than you found it. And when two people choose that kind of love, they are no longer simply sharing a relationship. They are building a legacy together.